students. Today we are going to see first unit poem Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time, written by Gabriel Ogra. So now let's see about the author. Gabriel Ogra, 1921 to 2019. So Gabriel Ogra was born in 1921 and he lived his life till 2019. And he is considered to be one of the first modern African poets. So there are many African poets, but Gabriel Ogra is treated as one of the first modern African poets. He was born in Nigeria. In which country Gabriel Ogra was born? He was born in Nigeria. He uses folklore, religion, myth and social issues to explore tradition and transition. What do you mean by folklore? See, folklore means a story that parents have passed on to their children through speech over many years. So folklore means it is a story that parents have passed from one generation to another generation, that parents are passing that story to their children. How? Through speech for many years. So that is called folklore. Next, second, myth. What do you mean by myth? Myth is a traditional story. Next, social issues, that social problems. So all those things he uses in his work, in his poem. For what? To explore. To explore means what? To learn about tradition and transition. Tradition means what? The transmission of beliefs from one generation to another generation. அதாவது ஒரு நம்பிக்கை ஒரு ஜெனரேஷன் வந்து இன்னொரு ஜெனரேஷனுக்கு அந்த நம்பிக்கை அப்படியே கடந்துக்கிட்டே இருக்குது. ஸோ தட் இஸ் கால்ட் ட்ரெடிஷன். ஸோ அப்போ ஹி யூசஸ் folklore, religion, myth and social issues to learn about tradition and transition. Transition means changes. The changes that happens from one generation to another generation. Next, his work first appeared in the magazine Black Harpiers from 1957. So his work first appeared in the magazine Black Harpiers from 1957. So his work, that Black Harpiers, it is a magazine that Gabriel Ogra, his first work appeared in that magazine. That is, it started from 1957. Next, this poem is included in his book The Fisherman's Invocation, published in 1978. So The Fisherman's Invocation, it is a book written by Gabriel Ogra and it was published in 1978. So in that book, the poem that we are going to learn today, that is Once Upon a Time, is included in this book. That is The Fisherman's Invocation. Okay, so this is what about the author. So the Gabriel Ogra was born in 1921 and he lived his life till 2019, and he is treated as one of the first modern African poets. He was born in Nigeria. He uses folklore, religion, myth and social issues to learn tradition and transition. Next, his work first appeared in the magazine Black Harpiers from 1957. This poem is included in his book The Fisherman's Invocation, published in 1978. Okay. Now let's see about the theme of this poem. What is the theme? What is the idea of this poem, or what is the subject matter that is mentioned in this poem? So what is the theme of the poem? How society changes from one generation to another. How the society changes from one generation to another generation. So that's what we are going to see. In this poem. How the society changes from one generation to another. Next, how the cultural shift. That cultural of the people from one generation to another generation. How does it move? That's we are going to see. Next, how capitalism takes place. The capitalism means private ownership. How does the private ownership take place from one generation to another generation? So that also we are going to learn in this poem. Next, how the people values each other. So from one generation to another generation, how the people are respected, how the people are respected. So all those things that we are going to see in this poem. So this is what the theme of this poem. Next, now let's see the introduction of the poem. Introduction of the poem. The poem is a conversation between a father and his son. So this is a poem which is a conversation between a father and his son. So two members are involved in this poem, that is the father and his son. So they are talking. So their conversation is mentioned in the poem. The son does things with emotions and father wants to forget his fake personality and relearn and recreate his personality by following the values of the past. So the son does things. So the son does each and everything with the emotions, with the anger. Whatever he does, everything he does with anger, and father wants to forget his fake personality. So the father wants to forget about his dummy, that not original personality, dummy personality. The father wants to forget about his dummy personality and relearn and learn again and recreate, create again about his personality by following the values of the past. So by following the values of the past, the father wants to relearn and recreate his personality, and also he wants to forget his dummy fake personality that he has now. He asks his son to express true love and to have real concern for others. So now he asks his son, he begs his son to express, to show true love. When you express your love to someone, please show it true love, to show it in real, like that the father asks his son to do, and to have real concern for others. So when you show your love to others, show the love unto them really, show the real concern. So that's what the father asks his son to express. And the poet seems to be shocked by the change of lifestyle, values, morals, and the total change in the world view in the new independent country. So in the new independent country, the poet seems to be shocked because there was a change in lifestyle, values, morals, and the total change, entirely everything changed in the new independent country. So by seeing all those things, the father is totally shocked, astonished. He seems to be mourning for the passing away of life. So from past, now everything is changed, and entirely everything is changed. The people are going with the new life. So now the father is crying for the passing away of life. Though the country is politically independent, it seems to be still influenced by the British culture. So we may think that we are politically independent. We got independence and we are politically independent. But still there is a impact, there is a effect on the people by following the British culture. So that's what the poet is worrying and crying for the new culture, that the people, they forget about the past and they are following the new culture, and we may think that we are politically independent by the way of getting independence, but still we following the British culture, and we are not at all independent, like that who tells, the father tells through this poem. Now let's see about the poem. Now let's read the poetic lines. After that I will explain one by one. After that I will explain each stanza. Okay, now let's read the poem. Once upon a time, son, they used to laugh with their hearts and laugh with their eyes, but now they only laugh with their teeth, while their eyes block cold eyes, such became my shadow. There was a time, indeed, they used to shake hands with their hearts, but that's gone, son. Now they shake hands without hearts, while their left hands search my empty pockets. Feel at home, come again, they say, and when I come again and feel at home, once, twice, there will be no thrice, for then I find doors shut on me. So I have learned many things, son. I have learned to wear many faces, like dresses, home face, office face, street face, post face, cocktail face, with all their conforming smiles, like a fixed portrait smile. And I have learned to laugh with only my teeth and shake hands without my heart. I have also learned to say goodbye when I mean good riddance, to say glad to meet you without being glad, and to say it has been nice talking to you after being bored. But believe me, son, I want to be what I used to be when I was like you. I want to unlearn all these muting things. Most of all, I want to relearn how to laugh, for my laugh in the mirror shows only my teeth like a snake's bare fangs. So, show me, son, how to laugh. Show me how I used to laugh and smile once upon a time when I was like you. So, this poem is written by Gabriel Borka. So, now let's see the poem in detail by stanza. In each stanza we will see in detail. So now let's see the first stanza. In the first stanza, what the poet wants to convey us is, the first line suggests that this poem is going to be based on a story, is a kind of story or fairy tale. So see the first line of the poem, once upon a time. Once upon a time means what? ஒரு காலத்தில். So whenever we start a story, we say once upon a time. So that's what the poet tells that this poem is a story or a kind of fairy tale. Fairy tale mean, I told you, a children's story. Fairy tale mean a children's story about magical and imaginary beings. அதாவது கற்பனை பண்ணி நம்ம சொல்லக்கூடிய கதை, குழந்தைகளுக்கு அதான் fairy tale. அப்போ இந்த போயம் வந்து இந்த போயம் வந்து based on a story or a fairy tale, imaginary story, story or imaginary story. That's what the poet first he has a doubt. Next, in the first stanza, the author addresses his son, saying that people used to laugh with their heart, they used to laugh with their emotions. When they would laugh, they would do it wholeheartedly and with friendliness, and they used to laugh with their eyes and show pleasure with them. So in the first stanza, the author talks to his son, saying that people used to laugh with their heart, they used to laugh with their emotion, sentiment. So in the past day, when the people laugh, they used to laugh with their heart. So when they laugh, their laugh will come from their heart, and also they laugh with the sentiment. When they would laugh, they would do it wholeheartedly. And in the past days, when they laugh, they used to do it with wholeheartedly, with full heart, and with friendliness they used to laugh. And with their eyes, and through their eyes, they show their pleasure, they show their happiness with others. But nowadays, in the present, they do it with only their teeth. But at present, they do it only with their teeth. They just show only their teeth, and they don't laugh with their heart, as like past. Meaning, they do not really want to laugh. So at present, if anybody laughs, they just only show their teeth and they don't really laugh, and they just do it in order to observe or in order to attract the others, and they do it unfriendly and looking for something other than the real person. So when they laugh nowadays, they don't laugh really, they don't laugh wholeheartedly, they just in order to attract others, they just simply laugh. And also they don't seek real person, they seek only false dummy people by the way of showing false love. That's what the poet is telling in the first stanza. So in short, I will say in the first stanza what the poet is telling to his son is that in the past days when the people laugh, they used to laugh sentiment with sentiment, and they used to laugh wholeheartedly. But nowadays they don't do like this, they just simply show their teeth, and their laugh doesn't come from their heart. In order to attract others, they just simply love. That's what the poet is telling in the first stanza. Next, in the second stanza, what the poet is telling is, he further talks about the personalities of the people of the past. He says they used to shake their hands. Here he is trying to say that when you would meet each other, you will shake their hands with pleasure and with warmth, and do it willingly, while their left hand search my empty pockets. From this we can see that they are trying to use him to get his money or receive something from him. This also shows that the people's personalities are not real and true. So in the second stanza, what the poet is telling us is that the character of the people. In the second stanza, he is talking about character of the people. So in the past days, when two are met in one place, they used to shake their hands. That he is talking about the art of shaking the hands. So in the past days, when two of them met together, they used to shake their hands wholeheartedly. So from their heart they shake their hands, and in a friendly manner they shake their hands, but with the happiness, and they also show their happiness and pleasure. So in a friendly manner they shake their hands in the past. But nowadays they don't shake their hands in a friendly manner. So in order to seek something, they just shake their hands, and while shaking their hands, the search my empty pocket mean that they are trying to use him. They are trying to use him by the way of getting money or receiving something from him. And this also shows that people's personalities are not real and true. So nowadays the people's character is not at all true, just the dummy only, like that the poet says in the second stanza. So when the people shake their hands, in the past days they do it with a friendly manner and with happiness, but nowadays they don't do. They just seek something from the other's pocket, or by the way of getting money, they seek something from the other person. So that's what the poet talks about in the second stanza. So in the second stanza he tells about the character of the people. In the olden days, when two are met together, they used to shake their hands with wholeheartedly, and they used to express their happiness, and in a friendly manner they used to shake their hands, and they shake their hands. But nowadays at present they don't do like that. They simply for the sake of shaking hands they do it, and also while shaking hands the other hands looks about their pocket in order to get the money or something. So the present personality is not at all true. That's what the poet is telling in the second stanza. Okay, now next let's see third stanza. In the third stanza he is talking about when people invite you round to their homes, making out as if you are important to them, but if you don't measure up socially or your status is not quite right, you are not at all invited again. So in the third stanza he is talking about people. So that when somebody invites you to their house, or when someone asks you to come to their house, if you are not important to them, but if you don't measure up socially, or if your status is quite right, you are not invited again. So when somebody invites you to their house, if you are financially rich, and if your status is highly valued in the society, definitely they will invite you. if you are not rich and if your status is not high in society, they will not invite you again to their house. So that's what the poet is talking in the third stanza. The words feel at home is used for when you want a guest to feel welcomed and they belong in their household. So when you invite someone to their house and when they come to your house and when you welcome wholeheartedly, they may feel that your house is like their own house. Here he mentions that I find the door shut on me. This shows that they do not even open the door to tell him that he is not wanted at the moment, but instead leaves the door closed, keeping him standing outside. This also shows that when people speak, they lie, not telling the truth, but just saying something nice to grab their heart. So, in the third stanza, what he says that if you are financially rich and if your status is highly regarded in the society, definitely you will be invited to someone's house. And if you are not financially rich and if your status is not highly regarded in the society, they will not invite you. And even if they invite you and if your status is not highly regarded, when you are invited to their house, they will not at all open the door of their house. They will just simply close the door and they will make you to wait outside. So this shows that they simply when they open their mouth, they simply speak lie and they are not at all revealing the truth. They are not at all telling the truth. Just saying something nice to simply they just say in the form of words in order to attract you. You are special to me, you are very important to me, you please come to my house. So all those things they will say in order to attract you only in the form of words. If you are not rich and if your status is not highly regarded in the society, you are not at all invited again to their house. So that's what the poet is talking in the third stanza. Okay, next, fourth stanza. The first three stanzas describe about the speaker's concept of changing culture, his point of view and values in his history. So now we have seen almost three stanzas. In those three stanzas, the poet explains about his own idea of changing culture, that from generation to generation the culture changes, and second, how the people are valued from one generation to another generation. That's what we saw in the three stanzas that we have seen recently. Now in the fourth stanza, in this fourth stanza explains about how the speaker himself had to change and learn in order to comply. So now in the fourth stanza, now from generation to generation, entirely everything changes. The culture changes, and the people value each other, everything changes. So in order to comply, in order to accept the current status, the current culture, the poet also he himself changes himself. Actually the poet follows the olden culture. He followed the olden culture strictly. Now in order to accept the present culture, he has to adapt with the present culture. So he himself change himself and he accept the present culture. In the fourth stanza, he talks about how he has learned to put on faces, like how outfits and masks are put on at different times, and with the different people you act differently. For example, in the office you act in one way or one way to a person, but when you meet them on the street you act another way to them, and how all the faces that people have on different occasions. So he has learned to put on faces like outfits. Outfits means what? A set of clothes worn out together, especially for a particular occasion. See, for example, if you are going for marriage, you will wear dress neatly and go. And if you are going to school or office, you will wear another dress neatly. So according to the occasion, according to the situation, you changes yourself. In the same way, the poet also changes himself according to the situation. See, for example, when the people act differently according to the situation. For example, in the office you act in one way. When you go to office, there you act in one way. and when you meet the same person in the street, you act in different way. So that's what the poet says. So people, according to the situation, the people changes their mind and act differently. He says, I have learned to. So now I also learned to act differently, which is suggesting that he has also changed. Now the poet also changed himself according to the situation. He also mentions with all their conforming smiles like a fixed portrait, which means the people, they just simply show the smile, same smile all the time. In each situation, in various situation, the people show the same smile, even if it is a marriage or office or school, whatever it may be, everywhere they show the same smile. There is no changes at all in the smile, and there is no true emotion, there is no true feeling in their smile. So that's what the poet tells in the fourth stanza, that according to the present generation, the poet also he himself change in order to accept the present generation, and in order to adapt with the people, he also changes himself entirely. So that's what the poet says in the fourth stanza. Next, the fifth stanza. In the fifth stanza, he says that he has also been influenced by the people around him, and he has learned to keep his true personality a secret, and he show the world a fake personality. So in the fifth stanza, what he says, that present culture influenced him. Influenced, I mean தற்சமய உள்ள அந்த கல்ச்சர் வந்து இவர் மேலே ஒரு தாக்கத்தை ஏற்படுத்திச்சு. என்னன்னா, and also he learned to keep his true personality hidden. So he hides his true personality and started acting according to the present generation, and he just merely shows his fake personality, dummy personality. He also has become expert at the heartless handshake and meaningless toothy smile. So now he has become expert in two aspects, that is heartless handshake. When he shake hand with the other, he just simply do it not from heart. And also when he smiles, just simply he shows his tooth, not from heart. He doesn't smile from heart. Plus additionally, he knows how to fool people with his send off and welcome and false good manners. So when someone leaves, we just send up by, it's nice to meeting you, I am really glad, I am so happy. So like that we say no. So that also the poet learned to make people fool by doing false good manners. And also basically he is saying that he has become an integral part of this new culture. So now the poet, he has no any other way, therefore he started following the new culture strictly, and it has been quite an education for him. So the following new culture, it's like for him studying new things. It's like getting education again in his life. So by following the new culture, he considers himself that he is studying again. So that's what he says in the fifth stanza. Next, sixth stanza. In the sixth stanza, he concludes it all saying that he does not like what he has become, and he wants to be like he used to be when he was like a child, so small and innocent. So in the sixth stanza, he concludes saying that I don't want to be like what I am now. I want to be like as I was in the childhood, like small and innocent. Innocent means what? Having no knowledge about anything. There should not be any guilt. எந்த ஒரு குற்ற உணர்ச்சி எதுவும் மனசில் இல்லாமல் innocent, அப்படியே அறியாமையாக இருக்கிறது. So like that he wants to be. The poet wants to be like innocent as he was in the childhood. So he doesn't want to be fake personality as he is now. He points out that he really wants to learn how to laugh with emotions, and he compares his laugh to a snake. So now he laughs only by showing fake personality, only just shows tooth. So he wants to forget, and he wants to learn like old age with feeling, and he compares his love now. At present, he compares his love like a snake. When the snake holds poison in his teeth, like that he compares his love as a snake to teeth hold harmful, and that his smile at present is very dangerous. That's what he says in the 6th stanza. So in the 6th stanza he tells about his smile that he compares his smile like a poison that snake holds in the teeth, and the smile is very dangerous. That's what he says in the 6th stanza. And in the 7th stanza, in the last stanza, father comes clean. So now the father comes clean. There is nothing, anything, no dirt in his heart. He is entirely, completely clean, pure in his heart. He is asking and begging, pleading to his son to show him how to laugh and smile like he did when he was a child. So now he is asking and he is begging his son, and he is also teaching him how to laugh and smile as he did when he was a child. So when he was a child, how he laughed, how he smiled, that the same thing he is teaching to his son to do the same at present. The olden culture encouraged openness and honesty, a pure identity. So the olden culture encouraged the people to show sincerity and honesty. So the olden culture represents a pure identity, Next, conclusion. The poet wants his son to imbibe the exemplary values of the past. So at last the poet wants his son to intake the good values of the past. Towards the end of the poem, the poet calls to his son to show him how to smile wholeheartedly. So at the end of the poem, the poet calls his son and show him how to smile wholeheartedly, from the heart how to smile. So that's what he teaches his son at the end of the poem. His desire to rethink the past is nothing but a yearning for the innocent, faithfulness and sincerity. So at last the poet desire, his wishes is to think about the past, and he says that the past is nothing. It is a wish for the innocence and faithfulness. Faithfulness means devotion and sincerity. So at last the poet wants his son to learn about innocence and devotion and to be sincerity. This is what the poet wants to tell to his son in the poem Once Upon a Time, written by Gabriel Okra. Thank you, students. Thank you.